Welcome back to BK Nothing But Nets podcast. Got a live panel today. John wasn't supposed to be able to make it, but we're here. I had an internet and power outage, which is why we're just a couple minutes late here. Uh, but I got a full panel here. I got my partner in crime, Dylan. I got John,
What up?
and I got big fan Breezy. Um,
Sure.
Breezy, first introduce yourself, do a little commercial, tell everyone where they can find you, then we'll get started.
Yeah, y'all can find me at the same handle, Big Fan Breezy, on YouTube or Twitter. And Twitter. Or you can find me in the chat here or maybe the panel if I'm a special guest. So I'm around.
We love having you on, Breezy. I'll start with you. The Nets scored 76 points in the first half against the number one defense in the league. They only scored 45 in the second half, which is about more their speed. What were your thoughts on the first half of this game and the lights out shooting, the 76 points in the first half, which is their highest scoring first half of the season?
Why are we this good? Why are we doing this right now? Why they I thought this was a simple task today. You go in, you do the job, and then you go home. But again, I just feel like Jordy Fernandez gave this team a fighting spirit. They won't lay down for anybody. And if you beat this team, then granted, you beat this team, but you're not just going to come into Barclays and beat this team. 76 points for a half means we were red hot, and a lot of those points came from three-pointer. What I didn't like is the 61 three-point attempts. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. That was the same thing I used to be mad at Jock Vaughn about and Steve Nash about. If we took 93 shots, there's no way you should be taking 61 shots, 61 three-pointers out of 93 shots.
Let me push back on that real quick, Breezy. Let me push back on you on that.
Yeah.
I like the strategy. You're playing a team that is so much better than you. The only chance you have to win this game is to get red hot from beyond the arc. If you're going to try to match them for baskets, you're not going to do that. They're better than you at every phase of the game. The only hope you have is to get scorching hot from three. Am I wrong about that?
No, it's not that you're wrong. They were right for it because it was working, but they never went away from it when it wasn't working. And I was listening to the color commentators for the Thunder, and in a nutshell, the Thunder coach just had the players play above the three-point line. Like, it's no way they're going to score 76 points in the second half. Like, they did whatever they did in the first half, but y'all not fitting to do us like that in the second half. And it shows that we are one-dimensional team and we don't have shot creators. I'm not looking for the wins and losses as a fan this season. I'm looking for player development, who's doing what, who should be here next season, that sort of thing. So, to answer your question, I thought it was impressive that we came out red hot, but it shows that we are one-dimensional team too, and we don't have enough players to put the ball on the floor that could get to the basket. So I'm glad we rebuilding because there are pieces that we still need to have a contending championship team.
Dylan, let me move to you. The strategy was obvious. The Nets don't have shot creators. Oklahoma City's an elite defense. What were your thoughts on the 62 threes, 61 threes, 61 threes? Nets record. What were your thoughts on the approach to the game, and what were your thoughts at the end of the first half when they had 76 points somehow?
I don't understand the analytical standpoint of wanting to take so many threes. Like a lot of people use analytics as the way of how you should play the game, and a lot of analytics tell you should be taking threes. But what people don't realize is you shoot threes at about a 35% less ability to make the shot than you do shooting inside the 3-point line. So to me, I've never understood why wanting to take more threes is something that the game is trying to do. I think it's absolutely pathetic. You watch basketball to watch the entire skill set, not just guys chucking up shots from behind a line. It's getting very frustrating. You see it with teams like Boston, with teams like Brooklyn. It's like you live or die by the three, and I'm not for that whatsoever. So to me, it was actually very boring to watch the offense last night because it felt like if it wasn't them hitting a three, the only actual skill set and fun form of basketball that I saw was Day'Ron getting an offensive rebound and putting it back up. Like, that was it. Day'Ron Sharpe to me last night with Killian Hayes was probably the only two players that I actually enjoyed watching. So to me, I'm not a big fan of taking that many threes. Overall, though, with the first half, it seems to be the case with every team that we play. They're going to take us lightly until they can't, and then they figure out a way to either come back in or we win by less than 5 points. So, you would think 50-plus games into the season, contending teams would probably not try and take us this lightly, but they still are trying to fuck around and find out, and they're finding out very quickly. Luckily, OKC was able to get back into it, but games should not be this close, like, at all.
I want you to respond to Lou here, Dylan, because he's pushing back. He's, I guess, an analytics guy, and I don't disagree with him. I think there's two arguments to be made on this side, on this argument. But he says, because going 4 for 10 from 3 is the same as going 6 for 10 from 2. Mathematically, he's correct, right? Like, if you're shooting 60% from 2, I only have to shoot 40% from 3 to match you, which is why I'm shooting more threes. How would you respond to him?
I would just look at the numbers. I mean, you got guys off the bench who shot 1 of 4, 1 of 4, 0 of 3, 0 of 2, 1 of 4. You got 2 starters who shot below 38%. You had Zaire, who was 5 of 13, Keon Johnson, who was 4 of 11. Realistically, if you're a person, unlike, I want the tank to happen, but if you're a person who's rooting for the team to win, take away half of those threes that those guys that shoot low efficiency on threes are taking and move those into 2-pointers, they probably win the game last night. So if we're going to really talk about analytics, like, pick your shots. Jason Tatum is a player and Anthony Edwards are 2 players who are really starting to struggle with this, though Anthony Edwards' percentages have gone up tremendously over the past month and a half. I think he was at like 36% from 3 like a month and a half ago. He's now at 42%, which is great. But again, at the end of the day, Minnesota's losing games because Anthony Edwards is sitting and living and dying by the 3-point line. Right? Same thing for Jason Tatum. The guy could easily put up 35 a game, but instead he's shot chucking 8 to 10 threes a game when his best shot is his mid-range and his inside finishing ability. So it's like, when you're talking about wanting to be efficient, take the shots that are most efficient. You also have to think of it in this way, right? If you make 4 of 10 threes, you're also giving away 2 extra possessions of not scoring any points, right? So those 6 of 10 possessions that you're scoring, you're not allowing them to come back and potentially outscore you, right? When you shoot 4 of 10, what if they make 6 of 10? Okay, but if you hit 6 of 10 and they make 6 of 10, you're still at the same rate. So it's like you're giving up extra possessions to give up extra points.
And it's not like I can only shoot 2s or only shoot 3s. I can shoot a mixture of the both, which I think, like, if you have a 3-point shooter with an open look, he should take it. Keon Johnson should not be launching up 8 threes a game no matter what. His game is based on athleticism. Go take the ball to the hole. You know what I'm saying? I think there's an argument to be made both ways. Like, I was watching a game from the 90s, Pacers-Knicks playoff game. You have Hubert Davis and Reggie Miller, 2 of the greatest 3-point shooters of all time, taking 22-foot 2-pointers. I don't see the point in that. Why not just stretch it out the extra 2 feet and shoot a 3? It's worth 50% more. Why are we taking these really long 2s where basically the heel of your foot is on the 3-point line? Why are we shooting that? So I think that's a point, and I think passing the ball around the 3-point perimeter, looking to put up a 3 7 seconds into the shot clock is really, really poor basketball. I think it's like really bad basketball. I understand that you have guys now who can stand in the corner and stroke it at a 45% clip, but basketball is all about moving the ball and moving your body, right? It's all about movement, and we've changed the game to now shooting 3s. Like,
let me answer Lou's question here though, because he said you're acting like they shoot 50% from 2. I'm glad you brought that up because Anthony Edwards shoots 40.6% from 3 currently on 10 attempts. From the 2-pointers, he shoots 46.5% on 10.7 attempts. Jason Tatum, as of this year, shoots 35.5% from 3 on 10 attempts, but shoots 55.4% from 2 on 9.8 attempts. So again, if you really want to talk about efficiencies, it's clear as day that the 2 is still a more efficient shot than a 3 is. Like, if you're going to take 5 or 6 threes a game, okay, I understand if you're hitting 2 or 3 of those. But when you're shooting less than 38% on 10 of those, you're hurting your team. There's a reason why when Jason Tatum has a bad game, they still have an opportunity to win because other guys around him are able to score within the 3-point line, right? Tatum, though, if he has a great game and the rest of his team isn't scoring, guess what? He can put up 45 points on 12 made threes and they still lose a game. Why? Because they're not getting the easy, efficient baskets. So at the end of the day, A more efficient shot is the way to go. Is the three a good shot and something that helps you score more? Yes. But you're also not supposed to be just chucking up 10 to 15 of those a game. That's pathetic. So, like, for Zaire Williams to take 13 of those, that's a joke.
Yeah, if they're giving Cam Johnson open threes, take him all day. Keon Johnson and Zaire Williams, who don't shoot 30%. I don't think they even shoot 30% from three. That's a poor shot. If you do the effective field goal percentage on it, it's not good. So I think 3-point shooters should take open threes. I think bad 3-point shooters. Like, I had this conversation with Nate. Is Julius Randle a 3-point shooter? Well, he's a 3-point shooter. I'm not sure he's a 3-point maker, right? Like, there's a difference there. He shoots a lot of them. He doesn't make a lot of them. I think Dylan makes a good point. I don't think it has to be either we shoot threes or twos. If 3-point shooters get open threes, they should shoot them without hesitation. 100%. Keon Johnson, Zaire Williams is not. It's like when you played baseball as a kid, right? The best hitter on the team can swing 3-0. If you're hitting 180, you better be taking, right? That's kind of the same approach. If you're Cam Johnson, shoot it. If you're open, shoot it. If you're Keon Johnson, make a basketball move, attack the rim, see if you can draw a double team, see if you can get a big default. Make a basketball move. Just don't launch up a three. But John, I'll bring it to you. Your thoughts on the 62 3-point, 61? What was 61 or 62? How many threes did they put up?
They took 61 threes.
61
franchise
threes.
record.
Franchise record. Your thoughts on that? And also the first half when they scored 76 points.
Yeah. First off, Gary, Breezy, and Dylan, it's always great talking basketball with you. Yeah, listen, Brooklyn Nets basketball is always unpredictable, especially in a season that's supposed to be very predictable. Even against the best, arguably one of the best team in the league, we put up one hell of a fight against them. And I give it to Coach Jordy. I mean, this guy always has a set game plan, a regimen system. These guys all follow it. Everybody respects crap out of him, and he wants to fight to win. That's how his whole mantra has been this whole season: fight to win, no matter the opponent. And if OKC took us lightly, that was their mistake. And for 3 quarters, the Nets put up a hell of a fight. But I think you all made some very interesting points. Like, we held them to the line with our rebounding and assist numbers. That was kind of how we were able to put up a great fight against them last night. The 3-point line, we actually held OKC to only 9 threes, which is quite impressive. Field goal-wise, though, OKC kind of did a lot of what they wanted to do on that end. And for us, that was our big weakness. We did decent on the threes, even though we took 60 threes, which is crazy. But field goal-wise, we really can't do much because we don't have a lot of shot creators. Besides Cam Thomas, you don't have these guys that make natural mid-range shots. A lot of guys do layups on this team. So that was going to be a big weakness, and that was what kind of caused us to run out of gas. So even though it's not the result Jordy probably wanted based off a lot of effort put in last night, at the end of the day, this shows you 2 visions of this team. The Junkyard Squad, for as impressive as they've been on the defensive side, ultimately they don't have the offensive capacity to really win against the best teams in the league, especially those best teams eventually come back and put it all together. So this is why the draft is so important this summer for Brooklyn, because we have to iron out what this core is. We're in an evaluation period. I mean, you could say Zaire Williams last night, he had, 10 rebounds, 18 points. He is making a case on a day-to-day basis why he should be getting a contract with this team. And we'll get into Dayron, of course, who had, I think, a career night for himself. And, Killian Hayes, he went from Mr. Invisible to Mr. Visible last night. I mean, Jordy literally said, I need you to be more aggressive, and Killian took the advice and put up 5 threes. So I definitely think there are some guys on this team fighting for a contract next year, where there's some other guys like Keon Johnson who takes 30. He took 23 shots last night, and he only made 8 of them. So there are some guys here that are trying to do a little too much because they might see that, hey, I might not have a shot on this team next year, but I might have a shot somewhere else. So there's still a lot of ironing out to go on, but impressive effort last night. But the result was going to be what it was going to be regardless.
I want to bring this back to Dylan real quick because I think this is where the conversation is going to be. I want to get to Sharpe, and we're going to do that in a second, right? I want to play both sides of the coin here. Dylan is right. Oklahoma City only hit 9 threes. They shot 9 of 30 from 3, which is not good. It's 30%. They shot 65% from 2, which is phenomenal. And so take more twos. You're hitting him at a 65% clip. That's 2 out of 3. Mark Harrington wants to push back here. And I don't disagree with him either. When you don't have the personnel to create offense like the Nets don't, you see they are relying on shooting threes and creating points off of their defense that keeps them in games. I want to ask you, the Nets, they don't have NBA talent offensively. is there only hope to shoot threes and hope they get hot because they just don't have the talent and the personnel to create good 2-point shots? Should they just, you know what I'm saying? Just come down and launch a three. It might go in because once we get into a half court set, you don't have the talent to score. I'm asking a serious question, Dylan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What is the exact question here?
So, I mean, do the Nets have the offensive personnel to create highly efficient 2-point shots? You know what I'm saying? Can they create offense? Do they have players who can create offense to get off, high efficient 2-point shots?
I mean, to me, Keon Johnson's a better 2-point mid-range shooter. I think the biggest problem is like people forget that a 2-pointer isn't just a layup. Just like how the only shot in the world isn't just a 3. You have like 20 feet in between from the start of the paint to the end of the free throw line. So it's like utilize it. It's more than just 5 feet of basketball. You don't have to be behind a 3 or inside the restricted area. You can be in the paint. You can be outside the paint. You could be around the mid ranges. There's way more to basketball than just a 3 and a layup or a dunk. Like, I think people really forget about how efficient the mid range is. Kevin Durant, guy's 36 years old currently. What's his main shot?
Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul. Yeah.
Nope. What's KD's
Mid-range.
main shot?
Get in the midi.
At the elbow of the free throw line, mid-range pull-ups, or a turnaround fadeaway mid-range just outside of the paint. Like, these are the most efficient shots. So to me, you have guys that can make those. Cam Johnson can make them. Zaire Williams can make them. Keon Johnson can make them. Like Trendon Watford can make them. There's guys on there that can. Cam Thomas, once he comes back, can make them. D'Lo can make them. Like, you have people who can do it. It's just there's a very strange way of coaching going on lately over the last 3 years that is really live or die by the 3. And it is killing teams come playoff time. So to me, I don't like the route of the offensive coaching side of things. To me, I'm not a person that's just going to say, let it fly. I want to see, I don't care if you make them. I want to just see 63s in a game. Like, that to me is pathetic. Take the
it's antithetical, to basketball. Like I said, basketball's all about movement. Move your body, move the ball. Now we've changed that. And look, you have guys like I said, Fontecchio on Detroit. You know what? He should probably just stand in the corner and shoot threes. Honestly, but yeah,
that's what role players are. Is you're supposed to have players who match a certain description, right? Dorian Finney-Smith isn't a guy that should be taking mid-range shots, right? He should be sitting in the corner or at the wing taking a 3. Or he should be pump faking and driving through the lane. And either that, he's going up for a layup or a dunk, or he's passing it out to another open shooter. Like, there's certain roles that you have to play within a system. And there's not many people who play the role of a guy who can take the most efficient shot in basketball. So I think that's where the problem is. Like Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum, for example, were incredible mid-range shooters. The year that Boston went to the finals, Tatum was incredible from mid-range. The year before that, everybody was calling him shit because he was a shot chucker from 3. I completely agree with Nate, though. I don't think there should be a 4-point line implemented. I think you need to push the 3-point line 5 feet back. Realistically, everybody has the range to shoot a 34-footer. Make the 3 harder. Make it actually worth something, because these guys could stand there, set up like it's a free throw without leaving their feet and hit a 3. I can do it. I've literally done it. That was one of my routines when playing basketball, was sit at the top of the 3-point line, dribble twice like it's your free throw routine, and shoot without jumping. Like, people can easily hit a 3 today. Push the line back. I completely agree with that.
I wanted to address something you said that there's more shots than just layups and 3-pointers. You blew Tyrese Halliburton's mind. You revolutionized the way.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's more than that.
Every single time I bet on that guy, he's not Tyrese Halliburton. He turns into Tyrese Halliburton. He becomes like a fast food worker. It's incredible. I've never seen a guy who was looking like a better version of prime Chris Paul. And yes, I'm going to say that because at one point he was averaging like 23 and 14 last season. And now he's down to 18 and 8 on horrible efficiencies. Yeah. And again, that's because he lives or dies by the 3. One mistake in your shooting mechanics and you're done from 3 for a while until you fix it. Like, again, the mid-range, a more efficient shot. So the whole reason why the best players in the league are considered 3-level scorers is because they can hit from all three levels of the playing field offensively. You can hit a layup or an inside
like
the paint
Thomas.
shot. Yeah, no, Cam Thomas is up there as a 3-level scorer, but again, these are the guys that actually have value in this league. These are the guys that can actually do something in this league in terms of offensive ability. So I won 2 parlays with him before this season. I don't even bet on him. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I just to me this year,
Me and Nate,
my do not bet list this year
Nate
is
had a
quite
debate
literally.
on Halliburton versus Brunson. You were right, Nate. You won the debate. Halliburton is not as good as Brunson. You win, Nate. I see the debate to you.
I was going to say, no, literally this year, my do not bet list consists of Jason Tatum points, Jalen Brunson, because he was incredibly inconsistent scoring wise. I would take his 30 plus and he would never hit. Tyrese Halliburton double is officially off. And then Bam Adebayo as a whole. I do not bet on Bam Adebayo. That guy, if you ask him to get 8 rebounds, you'll be lucky to get 2. So that's my do not bet list for all my gamblers out there. Oh, and Anthony Edwards over on threes. The guy was so inefficient at the beginning of the year that I refuse to bet on him now.
Let me bring Breezy back in. Breezy, I want to get to Day'Ron Sharpe. 25 points, 15 rebounds. Played like an all-star yesterday. Best game of his career, I would say. Would you guys agree with that? He also hit 2 threes.
Yes.
Yeah, two of 3 from 3. Nope. I would 100% say that was the best game of his career. I mean, you're talking about somebody who I have said it for over 2 years. Him at his max potential is a player that you could truly compare to an Andre Drummond, but with a 3-point shot. Like he can hit it at above 30% clip. I truly believe that if he takes 3 to 4 a game, he can hit above 30%.
Which is better than Zaire and Keon.
Exactly.
Shooter than those guys.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I definitely think that this offseason there needs to be a true conversation about what you do moving forward with Claxton, because again, a lot of us love Claxton. He's been here since the beginning.
I want to address that. I put a pen. I want that's my next topic. Let's get to Claxton in a second. I want to gush over Day'Ron Sharpe first. I want to get to Breezy and John. Breezy, what were your thoughts on Day'Ron Sharpe? I'm not saying he's going to get 25 and 15 and hit 2 threes every night, but if he was given the minutes, can we expect this kind of production from him on a regular basis?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that, because of the graphics I'm looking at right now, they says Day'Ron Sharpe's average when he's playing 30 plus minutes is 22.5 points, 13.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.5 blocks, 70% from the field to the conversation, 2-pointers, 51% from 91% from the free throw line, which is a gigantic difference from a Claxton. And the plus minus, like Gary always likes to talk about, is a 12. They said Sharpe puts up elite rebounding and scoring numbers when given 30 minutes. Give him Claxton job, man. Tell Claxton to come off of the bench. You too reckless out there. You ain't Rasheed Wallace, because I seen Rasheed Wallace play, and you ain't tough as Rasheed Wallace, and you ain't as good as Rasheed Wallace. So you can't be wilding like you Rasheed Wallace. Unless you playing like Rasheed Wallace, you can't get another flagrant this entire NBA season. And you're not playing that good for Day'Ron Sharpe not to take your minutes. For him to have a historic night like this is the second time I've seen Day'Ron Sharpe have a historic night. The first time he broke a rebounding record, and they immediately Kevin Ollie sat him down for Noah Clowney to be player developed, and it was a success. They put Noah Clowney next to Nick Claxton, and it worked. But this time, we already seen the success of Noah Clowney. We already know what Nick Claxton is. I say give Day'Ron Sharpe 30 minutes. Give him 30 minutes and see if he could be consistent putting up these kind of numbers, because I'm not saying our big man, it's a big man fix and that's all that's it. But it helps. It helps knowing that he's somebody that's a locker room guy that's easily coachable. And I heard he's always in the gym. You know what I'm saying? And that means he getting stronger. You know what I mean? So and he gives us a little bit of an interior offense. Not much, but you can run a little pick and roll with him. You know, his hands is getting a little better around the basket, and you can
That's a
kind
good
of
point. He can finish better. I mean, early in the season when he first came back off an injury, it looked
Yeah.
bad. He was getting the ball slapped away, and he couldn't finish. He was getting blocked by the rim, missing point blank layups. It was rough, but he seemed to have fixed that, recently. That's a good point, Breezy.
Yeah,
I
so
was going to say real
yeah,
quickly too, career high night in points and assists for Day'Ron Sharpe last night. So the 25 points and 5 assists are all of his career highs. Killian Hayes also his 5 made threes is his career high in an NBA game. So that's pretty impressive.
yeah, Sharpe, give him Claxton a job, man. Let Claxton come off the bench. You want to be, you know what I mean, and let Jordy have the biggest voice in the locker room. You
See,
know,
but
I
at
know.
that point though, why keep Claxton? Not to interrupt you, but why would you keep him when you're going to pay him $23.5 million to be a bench player?
No. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not. If this is how it's going to go, I'm not pushing back on it whether or not we should trade Claxton or not, because in far as upside from here on out, when you think about Day'Ron Sharpe upside and Claxton's upside, I'm gonna go with Day'Ron Sharpe upside.
I would 100% agree because I think he has shown progression defensively, but also has shown that he can space the floor. And that's something that Claxton's never shown. Claxton is in year 6 now. He still can barely guard an actual 5, right? He's incredible guarding with the 1 through 4, but he can't guard a 5. He can't play the 4 because he can't space the floor, and he has not shown any real signs of being able to do it consistently, right? He hits a 3 like once every 3 months, or takes a 3 once every 3 months.
It's not the 3, it's a mid-range. At 15-footer, he's got like 5 of them. I was like, oh, he can shoot the mid-range.
Yeah,
he's got 5 mid-range jump shots all season. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's very, very rough. Like, to me, there's more upside and unlocked potential within Day'Ron Sharpe than there is Nick Claxton currently. So for me, I think it's a no-brainer to start fielding offers. To me, it's so difficult to even grasp how you don't use one of either Cam Johnson or Nick Claxton to move up into this year's draft. Like, there's no world where one of those two aren't used in a package with one of our later first-round picks to move up into the lottery. Like, I don't see why we can't have 2 lottery picks. So that's definitely something that I'm going to start looking at. Like, right now, the team currently,
I would definitely look to move back into the lottery. We haven't heard from John. John, give me your thoughts on first Sharpe, his big night, and then Sharpe, Claxton. Is Claxton movable at this point? Can you trade him? Give me your thoughts on Sharpe last night, and then the big man situation moving forward.
Yeah, most definitely. And this has been a topic that we've been talking about for weeks now. And I feel like last night was kind of like the evidence that we've been talking about that has now come to the surface. Because really, Day'Ron's numbers last night: 8 from 10 from field goal, 2 from 3, took 2 threes, 7 from 7 from free throw. A huge improvement, Breezy. Not a big, but a huge improvement over Claxton.
Just can you speak to that real quick, John? Just on that part. How Clax can't make free throws and Day'Ron Sharpe could.
I think it's all about rhythm, and ever since Claxton hurt his shoulder, his shooting has never been the same. Like, he can make the mid-range shot every once in 10 games, but his mid-range shot is just nowhere near it used to be. Whereas Day'Ron has shown you he can make a 3. He has the form. It's just he hasn't got a lot of the opportunities because the coaching staff doesn't like their bigs to take 3s. The great thing I've noticed about Jordy since he's come to this team is he wants the bigs to take 3s, and I'm like, hallelujah. Because that's what you have to. Bigs have people hit 3s in this league. It can't just be rebound, rim run anymore. You got to be able to expand your game. So I'm glad Day'Ron is taking those chances. And then you look at the rebounds, 15, 5 assists from Day'Ron. Like, very good. 2 steals, 3 blocks, and a plus 20. Best of the night. So last night was an MVP type game for Day'Ron. And you figure he was facing a 2-1 deficit against Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. And offensively, he did better than both of them. So I feel like Day'Ron's confidence last night was on another level. And he was getting the ball every chance he got. And I would say this, he attributed to improved conditioning. He said, the coaching staff has worked with me on conditioning for the last 3 years, and he looks a lot better. He used to look very overweight, very slow. He looks a bit faster. And this thing I noticed last night, he was actually dribbling the ball to the rim. If Day'Ron could dribble the ball to the rim and score and get foul calls, he could definitely be a huge backup piece for anybody in the league. My big worry is, can he dribble? Because he's showing you some games where it's like Butterfingers. He can't dribble the ball. He can just catch it and lob it in. But if he could dribble the ball, he's going to be a threat. Now you bring up Claxton. Listen, as much as Claxton's improved lately, there's still the immaturity factor. Like, he couldn't play last night because of his actions, the Dennis Rodman phase he was going through. Now he's an impending father. It's just Claxton has a lot on his plate, but it seems like he can't focus it on this team. And he got the bag. That's the big thing. He got the bag with no accolades to his name. And Day'Ron, Gary, you bring up every time. You compare the plus and minus. Day'Ron has had more plus and minuses than Claxton has, I think, the last 2 years. Even last year, people forget this. Last year, Day'Ron was having statistically the best season of his career with rebounding, with scoring before he hurt his leg. And now this season, he came in hurt, right? But he didn't let that stop him. This is what I like about Day'Ron this season. Maturity, professionalism has been very consistent. And last night, in a game where it looked like we were going to get blown out, he stood tall like a tree on the court and was doing everything on the court he could to give that team a fighting chance. And that's why I think this summer we have a legit chance to get off of Claxton's contract. The Lakers, as good as they're looking right now, they're facing the Clippers this weekend with Zubats. If they lose those games, they need a center this summer. If we could find a way to trade Claxton to the Lakers for a Rui and some picks, I take it because we get the cap space flexibility. We can draft an actual center in this draft, a Thomas Sauburn with a late pick, or we can move up to have a shot at a Derek Queen. Or if our lottery picks odds, we don't get a scoring creator, maybe we could get Common Maliwalk, and then we could re-sign Day'Ron to a cheap deal and let him be the backup. I don't know if I see a starter future for Day'Ron, but I definitely see a solid backup, a Drummond 2.0 backup, and I think we need that. Imagine you had Common Maliwalk 7'2", and Day'Ron 6'11". Our rebounding and our height factor at the center position would be a steps above than where it is right now.
Maliwalk is more of a project player, though. So
right.
If you bring back Sharpe, you're going to probably start Sharpe to start the season.
Right.
Maliwalk is going to need like a season and a half before he actually gets any form of stealing that he may have.
Right. You could do it either way. I mean, I still think Derek Queen offensively, he could be a really solid piece. But if you want to come on and use him as a project, and he eventually could start over Day'Ron, I don't mind that. I just think our center position needs to be addressed. It needs to be reset. And if we get off Claxton this summer, I think it sets us up a lot better for making bigger moves. Because with Claxton making $20 million the next 3 years, our flexibility is really limited with his contract. So if you get off him this summer, draft a center, and let Day'Ron be a part of this team on a cheaper deal, I think it sets us up to make way bigger moves down the line. So I think this summer is our best and probably our last chance to get off of Claxton before we're forced to keep him.
I mean, realistically, looking at realistically looking at how the lottery is formed right now, holy shit, Dallas is now the 14th pick. So you have Dallas in there, you have Sacramento in there via the Hawks. You have you have Atlanta at 13 via Sacramento. You have Houston at 12 because of Phoenix. You have San Antonio at 11 because of Atlanta. You also have San Antonio at 9. To me, if Sacramento keeps winning and they stay around that 13 through 14 spot, that means Atlanta would likely have the 13th or 14th pick. Clint Capella is expiring. Like that is a perfect spot for Nick Claxton. If you I don't think you can just trade Nick Claxton to move up 10 spots in a draft. Like realistically, you're going to have to give up something as well. So to me, if you're giving up, let's just say, for example, the Knicks pick, which is currently at 26. If you give up 26 and Nick Claxton for pick 13, do it. You're moving up 13 spots in a really good draft class. And if that's the case, you're then looking at Brooklyn, who currently holds pick 7. So let's just say there's no such thing as a lottery. You have pick 7. You trade up for pick 13. You're talking about drafting a combination of potentially Trey Johnson or Jeremiah Fears with Derek Queen. Like that's a hell of a draft. That's something I'm extremely interested in. So I definitely think.
Hold on, Dylan.
Let me ask Dylan a question, bro. I'll get to you in 1 second, Breezy. I just want to ask Dylan a question real quick. I'll get to you, Breezy. Derek Queen, Day'Ron. I'm really into Derek Queen. I don't think we're going to be drafting in the top 3 or 4. So I think Derek Queen to me becomes a really attractive option. Mm-hmm. Can you play him at the 4 and Day'Ron at the 5? Is that feasible?
No. They're too similar. They're too similar players.
Or is it one or the other?
It's one or the other. They're too similar of players. Like to me, Derek Queen has like a very Embiid-like offensive ability where he has the mid-range ability. He doesn't really have the floor spacing ability just yet, but neither did Embiid coming out of college. So to me, the movements offensively reminds me a lot of a guy like Embiid with Queen. Of course, again, I base prospects off of ceiling. I'm not talking about what their floor could be, what their likeliness will be. I'm just talking from a ceiling perspective. He reminds me a lot of Queen. Of Embiid. So to me, I don't think you can play that next day run. Again, I think you need to find your center. I think you need to hopefully allow Noah Clowney to start for a full season and see what he can really do, right? Because if he's not the pick, then all right, now you're looking at next season Cam Boozer, you're looking at Noah Ament, you're looking at Caleb Wilson. Like you're looking for a potential star caliber 3 or 4. So I think that's how you want to base things moving over the next 2 years with the draft.
Let me get to Breezy. Breezy, you wanted you wanted to rebut something Dylan said?
Yeah, I wanted to say I was saying the same thing in a different stream about how we should take some draft capital and try to move up in this year's draft. And last stream, we were studying OKC's rebuild, and they had got like 3 players in their core and they rotation right now as we speak. And I think the 2022 draft, and it's just to say that that's what we could do. We could get 3 players this draft to be part of our core, part of our rotation. Just kind of studying rebuilds that's like modern day to see how they became competitive. And I thought that part stood out, that they had 3 players in their rotation that they drafted in 2022. You know, that's not a miss. That's a great draft. You know what I'm saying? If you're a franchise and you could get 3 players that's part of your rotation, you know, that's what the Brooklyn Nets want to do. And again, Dylan, he was saying how, you know, and what players. And that's what I was saying too, you know, because I didn't think we was going to be a top 10 team to get the 1, 2, or 3 pick. And that's why I like listening to, you know what I'm saying, fans that watch college basketball, so that we could decide who's the best shot creators. Because the best shot, we got to get one of the best shot creators. And if they not only in the top 3 picks, outside of those top 3, who are the best shot creators? Because that's what the Brooklyn Nets going to need. I hear Trey Johnson is just like Cam Thomas. I don't see why that's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? I will get a Trey Johnson, like, just because if you can't double Cam Thomas, then the defense going to have to pay for that. If you get another player, you got to double him too, then it's going to be really good. And again, back to the Day'Ron Sharpe thing, to the 5 assists, that's him playing right by the free throw line, and you know what I'm saying? And I guess being able to operate from there, because it's not like he was drawing double teams in the paint and he was just kicking it out like Sabonis or no shit like that. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was at that free throw line and he could either go to the paint or hit a little floaty, or he could find somebody on the elbow or something like that. He just did his thing, you know what I mean? But I just look at the roster construction of it, and I do want a big man and I do want a guard, you know, so that's why I favor Queen too. You know what I'm saying? Or that Georgetown center, or even a Kaman. Yeah, so there's big man right there. That's outside of the top 3. That's Kaman, that's Derek Queen, and I forget who the third guy said. But
Thomas Sorber, but he's not going to be a lottery pick. He'll be a guy that falls around between picks like 19 and 24, because he's also out
the Bucks pick, right? Like that's something that we can really.
That's why I'm saying, like, realistically, if you fail to get top 3, is it an unsuccessful season in terms of what you were trying to do? Yes. But if you can replace a top 3 pick with 2 lottery picks, let's just say, for example, a pick between 6 through 8 and a pick between 12 through 14, then I'm all for it. Like, if you can find a way to draft a VJ Edgecombe, a Trey Johnson, or a Jeremiah Fears, if you get one of those 3 and pair that with a Kaman Malawak or a Derek Queen, I'm all for it. Like, that's a great draft. And especially if you're still able to keep one of those, if not both of those later first-round picks, then you're talking about adding wing depth, like an Ado Thiaro, a Hugo Gonzalez.
Hold on, Dylan.
Like,
all 3 of those players are shot creators, right?
Jeremiah Fears is a 6'4" point guard. Trey Johnson's a 6'6" shooting guard. VJ Edgecombe is a 6'5" shooting guard, but he can also play the point guard. And for everybody who's going to say that he can't, go watch his games. The guy's averaging almost 4 assists a game. He can do it.
Right. And I just want
especially if it's for a season, because again, I truly think if you draft VJ Edgecombe or Trey Johnson, sorry, Breezy, but I do think that they look to move Cam Thomas at some point, because I just don't see a world where 2 dominant shooting guards play on the same team, especially 2 of which that are undersized. Like, you can't play VJ or Trey Johnson at the 3.
So yeah, use that top pick for a guard.
Okay. Go ahead. Let me
No,
just ask.
Gary.
Let me. Why can't I disagree with you. At 6'6", Trey Johnson can't play the 3. They keep saying he's a 2, and I understand 2 probably. But
Yeah,
why?
he's 100% a 2.
Why
It's
can't
just
he
to
do
me,
it?
there's certain players that can and can't do it at that size. Primarily what his game is focused on is scoring, right?
Yeah.
But hold on,
So
I just
to
want to
me,
say I
he's
think
not as
Cam
good of a
Thomas could
defender.
coexist with any player. I really feel like that. I don't never seen him not be able to coexist with any
Yeah, but
player.
that's like saying, an Audi can compete with a Lamborghini in a car race. Like it's
No,
just
it's not competing. I'm just saying like teammates, so they not competing. They like
because
teammates.
at the end of the day, you can't put 2 guards who can just mainly score without having any form of playmaking ability be on the same roster, like on the same floor at the same time. It doesn't work like that. Like the reason why Brooklyn added James Harden next to Kyrie and KD was because Harden could give you 10 to 12 assists a night, right? When you lost Harden and you didn't have Ben, what happened? It was a 2-man game between Kyrie and KD, scoring back and forth and losing games. Why? Because scoring is not the only aspect to winning a basketball game, unfortunately.
But trading Cam Thomas is slowing down the rebuild, not speeding it up.
Not necessarily, because if you draft a guy, say a guy like Trey Johnson or VJ Edgecombe becomes a star within 2 years, right? You're then looking at potentially flipping Cam Thomas for an additional star to pair next to that player, a better fit to play next to that younger, cheaper player. That's just the reality of what a situation could look like if they draft the same position as Cam Thomas this year.
I gotta see it, because again, I always question as Sumner, Schroeder, and all of these other players that's going to be next to Cam Thomas, and Cam Thomas, Ben Simmons, regardless. Look at Cam Thomas numbers next to every KD, Kyrie, Harden. Look at Cam Thomas numbers next to any level of player, to a role player like as Sumner, to a star like James Harden or Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant. He's excelled next to every teammate he had. So I don't think it'd be
next to them.
He didn't play a ton of minutes with KD.
Yeah,
he's on
he
the
never
team,
really,
I agree, but he wasn't.
He never got to like fully showcase his ability.
Y'all don't hold on. Y'all don't remember that 21-9 record when Kyrie wasn't there? When it was 21-9 record, that was KD and Cam Thomas and DDJ, and you know what I'm saying? All of those different players, and that's the record before Kevin Durant got hurt. It was 21-9, and it was only KD and Cam Thomas. And I say, yo, Kyrie better come get his job, because Cam Thomas fitting to take his job. I remember saying that because I'm a Cam Thomas fan. And then all of a sudden, Kyrie want to come back. I'm just saying. We can look at the stats. These are not my opinions. These are facts.
No, but I don't think you're hearing me. Wasn't Cam Thomas coming off the bench? Pretty sure he was a 6-man coming off the bench.
Yeah,
playing like 24 to 26 minutes a night. Like he wasn't getting full 30+ minutes as a starter next to KD. He was just playing minutes next to KD off the bench because KD was playing 40 minutes a night. Like,
and it was a fun combination. It was a fun combination.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Fun combination. It looks solid, but at the same time, again, you're talking about pairing a shooting guard next to a small forward / power forward. We're talking about potentially drafting a star-studded shooting guard to play next to a potential star shooting guard.
So what I'm saying is, with the top pick, because I got Cam Thomas, is contingent on what I would do with it. I'm taking Queen over VJ. I am.
I'm not saying that the Nets trade Cam Thomas this upcoming offseason if they draft a shooting guard. I'm saying they probably test it out for a year, bottom out, do it again in the draft next year, and because realistically, the Nets don't own their 2027 pick.
But why start at drafting a shooting guard because you already got Cam Thomas? Like that's the very reason why I went and drafted.
Because we know that Sean Marks doesn't value Cam Thomas as the guy. Like that's just, it's known. We're just being realistic, Breeze.
This is why I wanted to play Cam Thomas a ton of minutes, not 5 minutes a game, not in small doses. I wanted Cam Thomas for stretches of the season to be the one. If it looks horrible, who cares? Like we won't do it next year. If it works and we can use Cam Thomas as like a 1 and a 2, now it opens up our windows where Trey Johnson or VJ Edgecombe. I don't love VJ Edgecombe. I don't think he's got a real offensive game of an NBA player. But like a lot of people like VJ, you could have him at the 2 and Cam at the 1. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But at least let's take a look at Cam Thomas running the point guard position for 30 minutes a game. Let's see how it looks. If it's disaster, then we won't do it again. But I thought this was an experimental season where that's something we could have tried. It just hasn't happened.
Right, and I would say this too. You wonder also why the D'Lo move was made. Was it because they didn't trust Thomas taking over the one position when they wanted to kind of get rid of Dennis? But then he got hurt and couldn't find out. Now if D'Lo and Thomas come back, let's say they bring back D'Lo for another year, like Thomas can't play the one at all. And I think being the two is what this is Jordan.
Yeah.
Did we lose him? Yep,
We lost him real quick.
he's frozen.
John, you're frozen. Refresh, come back in.
Yeah.
I don't know about Cam Thomas at point guard though. It's just like I feel like it defeats the purpose of what he's trying to do. Like we need to see him be a high level scorer that does it consistently and efficiently.
Sorry,
You know what I
guys, it went out a little bit there for a sec. You hear me?
Yeah, you back.
Yeah. I just think that Jordy doesn't want Thomas as the one. I think he sees him as a two right now. So if you get Edgecombe, I'd be open to what Gary's saying. Play Thomas a bit at the one, let Edgecombe be two, see if the combination works. At the end of the day, same with Trey Johnson. Like you can see the combination works. Don't just think about Thomas being the end all be all. Think about who's the best fit on this team. If we miss 1, 2, or 3, 4, or 5, Edgecombe or Johnson, that's your next best thing to do before you have to consider, a common Maliuwalk or Jeremiah Fears. Like there are options for us to still go about this. It's just don't base it off of who fits better to Thomas. Who's the best player that can actually be a part of this team's future? I think that's what we have to figure out. And I just want to know, Gary said something very interesting. The Bucks pick could be a huge pick that we could attach to a Johnson or a Claxton to move up in this draft. Right now, there are a lot of teams on the Bucks' heels right now. That pick could fall right now between 15 and 16 before the season is out. Imagine having a Johnson, Claxton contract and a 15 pick to move up, maybe to get a second lottery pick. It's possible. It's doable. But can this management actually pull it off to get 2 lottery picks? Because it should be a goal. It'd be a huge goal for us because we still have to figure out what our core is. We have a scrap heap right now. We need an actual legit core.
I agree with Gerard here. Trey Johnson and Cam Thomas, an offensive juggernaut. Before I shot it down, I'd like to, if we drafted 5 and Trey Johnson was available, I would consider that pick, and I would consider trying this. It wasn't that long ago where everyone was saying Tatum and Jaylen Brown can't work. You have to break it up. And then they won a championship 2 years later.
Well, yeah, I mean, they brought in Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis. I
understood.
To me, with Boston, it's a problem just because it's like Brady going to the Buccaneers. They were a quarterback away. They already had Mike Evans. They already had Chris Godwin. They already had a top 10 O-line. They already had a top 10 defense. Yeah, and they also added Gronk. Like that's what Boston is to me. It's like they had a good core, but you also just added everything possible that you could to make it unbeatable. So it's not like Tatum and Brown ever did that on their own. Without those role players, they were always LeBron's little brother. And LeBron had to leave the East for Boston to succeed. And even then, they lost to Golden State before they added all those pieces.
Was Derek White on the team that lost to Golden State? He was.
Yes.
That was the year they traded for him at the
deadline. I believe that was the first year that they got him. Yeah.
Yeah, they got
him.
Right.
So but they didn't have Holiday. They didn't have Porzingis. So it's like, they had Grant Williams and Al Horford.
What's up, Brizzy?
Where you going with this with Trey Johnson? What do you see? Why do you agree with him? Because I don't watch college basketball. Offensive juggernaut. Like, what are y'all talking about, bro?
Yeah,
like,
I don't agree with that.
Well, no, talk to me. I want to know what's going on.
He's not a point guard because he's not a distributor, but he can handle the ball. Right? He can bring the ball up the court. He's not a playmaker for others. He doesn't create offense for others, really. But he's a shot maker. He can. You're talking about a 3-level scorer who can score from anywhere on the court. That's him. Logo to the
but
basket.
Realistically, if you look at teams around the league, though, what team that has won a championship do you see that their primary players, their 2 best players, were both 1 and 2 guards? Nobody.
Nobody.
What you mean? Golden State. They had Curry and Clay.
Yeah, there you go.
Kevin Durant was the second best player on that team. They won 1 championship.
But before Kevin Durant came, they won it. They won it without Kevin Durant.
Who would you say was the second best player on the team that beat Boston? You would say Wiggins, I guess.
Wiggins, yeah. And again, as a forward, Klay Thompson was on the downright of his career. Like, there's just not many. There's really no examples of 2 guards that are able to so-called dominate offensively to a point where they can succeed in a playoff series. You need a superstar wing to win in basketball. You either need a superstar wing or a superstar big man. Giannis, Kevin Durant, LeBron, Jokic, Embiid. Like, you need these types of players to make deep playoff pushes.
I'm not saying that if we got Trey Johnson, we're winning a championship. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I think that's something that you can build around. Now all we need is the big. If we can get a big via free agency, whenever, now we may have something. But I want to see, like,
I really just think you draft the big, and so to me with the draft in any scenario, right? If whether you're pick 1 through 8, it doesn't matter where you are selecting in that 8. Take the best player available. You're a rebuilding team. You're a bottom 8 team in basketball. So it's like,
let me ask you this question though. So let's say
Yeah.
VJ goes 4, we draft 5. So the top 3 guys and VJ are off the board.
I'm
Just a
taking
hypothetical.
Kasparas or Kaman Malawak over Trey Johnson.
Okay.
Simply just because
Okay.
I think they both have great upside. I think they have a little bit more to their games, and they're also just better fits, right? To me, if I had to say best available, I would say Malawak, Trey Johnson, Kasparas. But again, you also have to factor in the upside of the player, the potential of the player, the skill set that they bring, the fit that they bring, because it's not always just about like there's 9 times out of 10 you're going to draft a guy that's the best available, but you also have to have some form of fit in there as well. So that's why I put Malawak over Trey Johnson.
I want to ask you a question though. Let me, because I'm not opposed to Malawak, but it's a real question. The fan base is not patient. They don't have the stomach for a 1-year tank. Malawak to me is a project. If they draft him, I'm okay with that. But if other guys like Fears and Trey Johnson are putting up big numbers, are the fans going to grow impatient trying to develop Malawak when these guys that were drafted after him hypothetically are already putting up numbers and producing?
I mean, I laugh when I hear about this fan base being impatient because I'm 23 years old. You've been a fan of this team your entire life, Gary, and we have both not seen a championship. So there's no point of not being fucking patient. It's not hard. It's not like we have any expectations. We're not Boston. We're not the Lakers. We haven't won shit in our entire existence. So who cares if it takes 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years? Shut up. It's that simple.
It's a fair point. It's a
very fair point.
It's like being
a Jets fan. My uncle, who was a Jets fan, was born the year after the Jets won the Super Bowl. I don't hear him bitching and complaining that they haven't made a Super Bowl. That dude just wants to make the playoffs. He wants to be in the playoff game.
He doesn't even want to for 14 years. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter about what you want. You just want to see little wins here and there. You don't care about actually building a long-term successful organization. You care about individual seasons. So until you don't look at it that way, like I once did, then you're never going to understand how you actually build a winning organization. It doesn't just happen by trusting the little players that you have, not focusing on a draft and trading all your assets for superstars. It doesn't work. So real quickly too, to answer Leaf, Igor Demon is likely to drop out of the lottery, just for your information. Igor is dropping on draft boards tremendously. Derek Queen, he's a 20-year-old freshman. That he's not going to go top 9. I'll say that. He's probably more along the lines of like 10 through 14. So like if I had a pick with each selection, right? Number 1 is Cooper Flagg if I'm the Nets, right? So say the Nets are every pick, right? If I'm the Nets at number 1, I'm taking Cooper Flagg. If I'm the Nets at 2, I'm taking Dylan Harper. If I'm the Nets at number 3, I'm taking Ace Bailey. If I'm the Nets at number 4, I'm taking VJ Edgecombe. If I'm the Nets at number 5, I'm taking Kaman Malawak. If I'm the Nets at 6, I'm taking Kasparas. If I'm the Nets at 7, I'm taking Jeremiah Fears. If I'm the Nets at 8, I'm taking Trey Johnson. Like, that's how I would base it based on the pick that we get. So Derek Queen, I would take it like 10 through 12. Actually, probably 9 through 11. I would say 9 through 11.
Let me get the same. I want Breezy and John. John, in my hypothetical, so the top 3 guys are off the board. VJ goes 4. The Nets are picking 5. So VJ and the top 3 guys are off the board. Who are you drafting at 5?
That's very interesting. I think it would definitely be a toss-up. I think I'd actually would have Queen in the top like 6 or 7. I think he's just really that good right now. I think it could be between him and Trey Johnson. If we're looking at best offensive piece, it would be between those 2 guys. And then I would have Kaman and Jeremiah Fears right after those 2 because those 2 are really good as well. But that would be my A would be Queen or Johnson. My B would be Fears or Malawak. And then we can figure out the rest with Kasparas and the others. So we have some slots there, but I would say this too: the Bucks pick Igor Demon. If that pick falls in 15 and 16, we would have a point guard. I could pick him up with that pick easily. So there are many ways to go about this. We definitely need to address our forward, our point guard, and our center position. If we can address all 3 of this draft, maybe Sean can salvage the crap mess he put us in, maybe. But we have to actually make these moves strategically. But yeah, I think Trey Johnson or Queen would be the next best options after Edgecombe and the other guys if they fall off the board.
Breezy. Again, same question to you. Top 3 guys are off the board. VJ goes 4. Who would you take 5?
I would be glad VJ offered the ball so it could stop all this Cam Thomas talk. Then I would obviously go to Trey Johnson because again, I'm hearing a lot of. I'm looking at who's the best shot creator, and Trey Johnson name keep coming up every time I come up with that conversation. I
Trey
keep
Johnson's the
hearing
same as VJ Edgecombe, plays the shooting guard, so you'd have your issues with Cam Thomas.
no, no, I ain't even tripping on that. I believe in the coaching staff too much. I've seen them work wonders, so I wouldn't even trip on that. I would, and part of my confidence is because of the coaching staff and what I've seen with they player development. I wouldn't trip. I would have Derek Queen, somebody that has an inside game, sound like he could play with his back to the basket, kind of what Day'Ron Sharpe did last night. I think that's his upside. I think he's a player that, you know what I'm saying, we would expect something like that, like to develop into what Day'Ron Sharpe did last night. So I would see the upside in that. And Igor Demen, if I got Trey Johnson, no, I wouldn't get him. But if I couldn't get Trey Johnson, I would get a Igor Demen. But
Right.
to be specific, would I get a Fizz with the pick? I don't know. I might get Thomas Sorber with the pick over Fizz. I feel like we need an inside-outside game. Last night exposed that we could be one-dimensional and teams could beat us that way. And if you're going to compete in the playoffs one day and you one-dimensional, teams are going to expose that.
Yeah,
so I
but
will work
Sorber's
on
not
trying to
going top
become
10.
a two-way scoring team, you know, from the inside out to the three-point line. Because it's like
But
y'all said earlier.
Sorber isn't going top 10. He's projected like before his
You could
injury.
probably get him with the Bucks pick, right? Like,
Yeah,
but
like
but if his question is 3 picks, I don't think we're gonna get 3 picks in the top 10. I mean,
no,
but
what I'm saying is, all right, so let's just base it on the picks that we currently have, right? If you have 7, 19, 23, and 26, right? I think that's what we're at. Let's just say hypothetically you trade Claxton in 23 to move up to 13. All right. Or let's just say Claxton in 26 for 13. So you now have 7, 13, 20,
and 27.
20 and 27. Yes. All right. So with the 7th pick, let's just say figuratively, take Trey Johnson. With the 13th pick, take Derek Queen. Right. At pick 19, take a guy like Hugo Gonzalez. And at pick 27, take a guy like Boogie Flan. You can even reverse it. At pick 19, or I'm sorry, at pick 20, take Nolan Traore. And at pick 27, take Ado Thiaro. Like, there's different scenarios where you can get the positional need, but with also the high upside of the player. Boogie Flan and Thomas Sorber are now 2 players who are out for the season. Boogie got all the way up to lottery projected before his injury. He's now slipping all the way down to potentially the late first round. Thomas Sorber was just nearing potential lottery. He was around like 16 through 18 on most draft boards. With his injury, he's now probably going to drop back down to about 20 through 24. So that's why I'm saying, like, I wouldn't reach on a player to move up and trade them to trade up and draft them when you can probably get them with the Bucks pick.
No, I didn't know that they got injured. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't watch college basketball like that. I didn't know they got injured.
Let me get Leaf in real quick. Leaf is pushing back against Trey Johnson, so I want to put the question to you, Leaf. VJ Edgecombe and the top 3 guys are off the board. The Nets are picking at 5.
No, don't.
Who are you taking? And then after you answer that, what's your beef with Trey Johnson?
Well, the beef with Trey Johnson is that defensively that there's nothing there, like, at all. Like, realistic, like, I had to see it for myself. People was telling me, bro, and then I finally saw it for myself. I'm like, there's nothing there defensively.
Yo,
did we break up? I don't disagree. I watch almost every game he plays. I'm a Longhorn fan. I watch him almost every game. I understand what he's saying. He's not a playmaker. He's not a distributor.
My bad.
Okay, you're good. You're good. I get what you're saying.
Bad.
Continue.
Yeah. So with Trey Johnson, I'm like, you getting another liability basically. Like, just in terms of that. I feel like at 5, to me, I'll take a chance on Derek Queen at 5. I mean, that might be a little bit high for him, but that might be a large high for him. But I think he probably is. Yeah. So, but I will take him at 5. And at 19, what are we at? 18, 19, or whatever. That's probably like round. If Yegor is still around, I'll take Yegor. I think we need high level IQ players, and to me, Queen and Queen and Yegor, bro, like they already have some like they got a high level IQ at their age to me, and I think it could only advance, bro, with Jordy. I think we got athlete. I think we could get athletes. I think we could get defenders that at any time. I think we need high level IQ players to mix with these athletes and with these other guys. That's the first two. The other
Here,
the other picks.
to help you out real quick, the Nets have picked 7, 21 from the Bucks, 24 from the Rockets, and 26 from the Knicks. So if you want to base it off that to make it easier for you, 21, 24, 26, and 7.
Well, them picks are subject to change. The only reason why
Yeah, meaning
Tankathon,
right now. Yeah.
yeah. The only reason why Tankathon has us at pick 7 because they do the NFL shit, like which is stupid, but because it's a lottery, it's not
I was gonna say, yeah,
based off
you
the
can
worst record.
simulate the lottery. Like I just clicked here. I'll do one random simulation, right?
Right?
It brought us down to 9. The
No,
next one,
I'm not.
the next
No.
one, it brought me to 1. I'll do a third one. The third one, it brings me to 8. So, like it's gonna change. But meaning, if like how most people do mock drafts, like professionals who are analysts and are scouts, like how they do the draft boards is they just base it on if it wasn't a lottery, right? So like when you see a Bleacher Report or an ESPN draft, a mock draft, they're doing it in the order that it's currently in. So that's why I'm just saying, like, I would base it on the picks that we're in until we know what the lottery is. Because realistically, we only have one pick that we are surefire knows that isn't going to be exactly where it is currently, potentially. Like, it could be 1 through 10, right? But the other picks, like the Bucks, they're probably not going past pick 18. Maybe they'll go as high as pick 23. The Rockets, they're probably not going to go as low as pick
I'm
22.
not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you, Dylan, bro. Like the Bucks, I didn't think they was gonna go past pick 18, but that pick might be subjected to drop.
I 100. I put it out last July that I think the Bucks will give us a top 18 pick. I think Giannis goes down at some point. We're already seeing the calf injury becoming an issue.
I mean, but
Every year
it could possibly be top 16 at this point. I'll go as far as saying that if we lucky.
Right
But
now
I
they're
mean,
32 and 25. They're 5 games back. They're 5 games back from being the 15th pick. So like it's doable, but realistically, do you see Miami getting ahead of them? Which that pick is owned by OKC.
yeah,
Do you see Orlando?
that's what I was thinking about
Yeah.
Orlando and whatchamacallit. But
Or the only team,
the
yeah,
only team that could realistically get in front of them is Detroit.
well, I was going to say, I mean, if you really think of it, they're at pick 21. They're only a game and a half ahead of the Warriors at 17.
And the
So, like,
Timberwolves and the Clippers. So they're like 4
Right.
teams on the rosters right now. So they
they're
can take it
The
up to
Warriors.
13.
Okay, so all right. So realistically, Dylan, the Warriors is gonna climb because they've been on a tear since they
Mm,
got
I would
Jimmy.
say the Warriors climb, Minnesota climbs,
Clippers.
the Clippers drop, the Pistons climb, the Magic
Mm.
climb. So that's 4 teams that could potentially climb, but you're also
I don't know
factoring in.
about the Magic. The Magic is iffy to me.
Yeah, I'm iffy on the
I
Magic too a
definitely
little bit.
I definitely think the Magic land top 17. I don't think they go anything higher than 17 because they're 3 games
Right.
back in the
I
Warriors.
think they
The
go up.
Warriors
I
are the
think
next team
Magic
up.
go
So
up.
all right. So who you got at 15 right now?
15 is currently Miami. Their pick is lottery protected. So if it's
Right.
15, they get the pick back. But if it's a lottery, I believe OKC has a. I don't know what is their exact protection actually.
I don't know what they protection is. If it's lottery protection,
Yeah, it's
that
lottery
means
protected 1 through 14.
yeah,
So
right 1 through
so
14.
yeah,
So that
right
means
now
they get
OKC would
14.
get it. Yeah, right now OKC would get it. So Miami's
Okay.
likely to because they're going to want that pick.
Right.
Orlando is going to stay in place, if not maybe bump up 1 spot. I see the Clippers dropping below the Warriors and Timberwolves. That's who's behind them. So the Warriors and Timberwolves will climb up. I think the Pistons have a chance of topping the Bucks. Pause.
I don't see Miami. I don't see Miami picking up another guard. Per se.
No,
Like
I
just
think
that's just me.
yeah, they're a team that's more so probably going to. I mean, I do see them going after Jeremiah Fears if they fall as low as like 12. I think Jeremiah Fears is a
Yeah.
perfect fit for them. Like to me, the players that I've been linking to them most is Jeremiah Fears, Liam McNeely, Colin Murray Boyles, and Con
Between 15 and 20, if Yegor is available, bro, I
I would
like our
definitely be interested
chances.
in that range. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
See, the question is though, is who do they realistically? Who do you think's going to have more upside? Right, Igor Demon at the beginning of the season was projected in the 20s. I said that I thought he had a chance at top 5. He showed that at the beginning of the season, but he's shown consistency issues. He's now dropping out of the lottery again. Nolan Traore was a guy who's projected top 5, who's now dropped into the late teens, if not early 20s. Is that the guy that you would rather trade up for? Because I think Traore has more upside than Igor.
I mean, well, I think,
I
he might have
disagree
more.
on that.
I think
I mean, the upside, I could understand you, but I think Yegor already has an elite NBA ability, which is his
Yeah.
playmaking.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we're gonna need regardless of like how these rosters flip. You talked about you and Gary talked about the cap and how the cap is gonna work. I don't think the players that we have, none of the players on our team have anything elite right now.
No.
Nobody.
Oh, Cam
So
Thomas.
Cam Thomas the elite scorer. Stop it.
Cam Thomas is a great scorer. He's not an elite one. No.
Actually, honestly, in a sense,
he's
I
a
can agree with
great one.
that.
He's not an elite one. Elite scorers average 30 or better. So that's not him.
It's the ability. He can score anywhere on the court at any time. Like he can go for 40 any night.
But here's the thing, bro. Like what, like you have to your production has to match that. He's a great scorer right now. He's not an elite one. No.
How I base it is a great scorer is a guy that can give you 23 to 25 a game. An elite scorer is 26 and above. Think about it. Every superstar in the league averages 26 or more, most likely, right? Like,
exactly.
I think he can average 26 with a full healthy
I
season.
think
until he does, bro. Like until he does, bro. Like I'm not giving him that, bro. So that's still a question mark. Now, in terms of the elite level playmaking, that really goes to how the playmaking is constructed. Obviously, we know Joker is constructed that way. Obviously, we know Luka is constructed that way. And they was that constructed that way coming out of the draft in terms of their playmaking ability. Yegor is the only person that fits that example to me in this draft.
So I'm gonna give you the stats for Traore versus Igor. I'm gonna base it on per 36 because college and overseas players when they're young they really don't play like full starter minutes.
Right.
So Traore's per 36 is 19 points, 3.8 turnovers, 7.5 assists. He's shooting 40% from the field, 29% from 3. All right. Igor is his per 36 is 13.7 points, 7.5 assists. He's shooting 42% from the field, 27% from 3. And he has 3.8 turnovers per game. So very, very similar players, but I see a little bit more upside in terms of the scoring aspect to Nolan Traore. So that's why I think it's definitely like a debate on whether or not who you want to select first. And that's why I think Traore has more upside because if you go from a guy who is a former top 5 projected pick and you fall because of your production, that's still something that can be fixed with the right coaching development, right? When you're a guy who shoots up a draft board and then drops significantly down a draft board, there's maybe a little bit more question marks there. So the consistency with scoring on Igor's end, I think, is more detrimental than Traore's consistency, right? Like they both have
I disagree, Dylan.
I think Traore has more upside.
I disagree. I think a backcourt of Thomas Traore would be horrible. I think Yegor is more of a balance to Thomas, whereas Yegor has the vision, like Leaf's talking about, the passing abilities. It takes a lot off Thomas's shoulders. I think Yegor would find Thomas for like an easy 20 points a night. I like that upside a lot more than Traore. I think Traore, he has scoring upside, right? We all agree on that, but I think everything else, though, I think the physicality aspect, I think where Nolan's going to get exposed a lot. Whereas Yegor, his offense could be molded. I think everybody's downing him for the offense, the playmaking and vision and the height. Find Coach Jordy with those 3 elements, he will turn into something good.
When you look at their per 36, though, they're dead even in terms of playmaking. Their per 36, they both average 7.5.
Yeah, but you can't teach 6'8", 6'9" height, though, Dylan, and you can't teach vision passing.
I completely agree. That's why I said I like both prospects. I was big on the Igor train at the beginning of the season. I still wouldn't mind if they take him. But again, it just depends on the range of the player. Like you also have to base the pick on value, right? Are you getting the best value of the player at that pick?
Right, but we got to get bigger as a team, though. Remember you said, Dylan?
Like Igor at 15 through 18, I 100% agree. If you're picking a guy like Traore between 17 and 20, I 100% agree. But if you trade up to 13 and you select Igor, I'm not a fan of that. Right? Just like how if you trade up to 15 and you take Traore, I'm not a fan of it.
Let me ask you a question, Dylan. Because let's say, hypothetically, we got Trey Johnson at 5 and Igor at 18 with the Bucks pick.
Wait, say that again.
We get Trey Johnson at 5 and Igor at 18.
Okay.
Now you have I would call a 3-guard rotation, but you got two guards who are 6'6" and what's Igor? 6'8", 6'9"?
Igor
So you
6'8",
have-
Cam Thomas is 6'4", Johnson 6'6". Yeah.
So I mean, could that work? I know you don't like the idea of Cam and Trey Johnson together, but 6'8" Igor and then Cam Thomas at the 2 and 6'6" Cam Johnson and Trey Johnson.
I think it stunts the growth of certain players. Like, to me, you can't put a lineup together of Igor, Trey, and Cam because, okay, Igor can help the playmaking wise to help them score, but both Trey Johnson and Cam Thomas on the floor at the same time takes away from both of their scoring abilities, right? Just like how having Cam Thomas and Trey Johnson on the score on the floor at the same time, you're then focusing on those two as your primary scorers. You're not allowing Igor to develop his scoring ability. So it's like it kind of, each scenario with those three on the floor has a piece that's going to hurt the other player. And that's why I think you have to draft based on...
I'm not saying Igor is Killian Hayes offensive. Like, he's got offensive game and he can score. But that's not what we're drafting him for, right? There's a reason why he's dropping to 18, 19, like we're talking, because he can't score. Like, and I like Igor too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that he can't score. He's just had issues against better teams, which again is more of a development thing. And that's
he's had issues. The issues that he had was against better teams as the number one on BYU. I don't think that's going to be the case in the NBA when you already got some type of proven scoring around you. When you got some type of proven scoring around you, and whatchamacallit, our coach is able to create space. That's going to open up a lot more. Like, because his playmaking ability is already going to be on a scouting report, and that's going to allow him to create mismatches because he could create mismatches, bro, like on 3 different levels as a playmaker. So.
Right. He has to discover his offense, too. Let's remember what Jordy's been good at. He's been good at creating good offense out of pieces that weren't really north of offense. Keon Johnson, was he averaging 20 points in the NBA before? Hell no. Like, Jaeger, the offense will come along. It's just, can you look past that and look at the real upside he has with the playmaking vision and the height factor and, him just being all-around good player on the other aspects of basketball? I think that's something that's worth taking risk on. And this is the big thing for the draft. We need to get bigger as a team. We're too damn small. We got to get bigger. Like, imagine drafting a Jaeger Dem and a Thomas Sauber and a 6'9" Rasheer Fleming in the draft. I'd be happy with that. I'd be like, shit, we got 3 guys that are over 6'8" on our team.
To me,
Like,
how
that
I
would be
base
good.
how I base the draft currently is, again, I think the 2 biggest needs is point guard and center, at least for this year's draft. Because if you don't get Flag or Ace, the wings are the wing talent and upside takes a huge dip, right? Like, your next best wing off the board is Liam McNeely, and I don't see him having such high impact. So to me, I think your primary focus needs to be point guard or center. If you can't land Jeremiah Fears or Dylan Harper, I think you pivot to the center with your first pick, which would be Malawak or Derek Queen. And if you do that, you can then go for the point guard later in the rounds, whether it's Boogie Flan later in the first, whether it's Nolan Traore midway through the 20s or early 20s or late teens, or if it's Igor, just outside the lottery. Like, that's how I base it. So it's an interesting situation that they're in. It's definitely a good situation to be in. But again, with your first pick, you're 9 times out of 10 going to select the best available player. So, if Kaman Malawach is there at 6, you take Kaman Malawach. If Trey Johnson's there at 8, you take Trey Johnson. So it just depends on where the pick falls, though.
What about Rasheer Fleming, Dylan? Where would you draft him if you were Brooklyn, Rasheer Fleming? Because he's been very impressive. He's got the 6'9" height.
Hold on. Let me answer his question.
Go ahead. I wanted to ask Johnson.
Yeah, Rasheer Fleming, the only problem with him with Brooklyn, he's an incredible player, has a lot of talent. But when you look at rebuilding teams, you don't want to take seasoned guys in college because there's not much room for them to grow within the NBA. Like, a lot of their talents is what they have currently. So Rasheer Fleming's a junior. Guys like Danny Wolf, who I see somebody just commented, is a junior. Johnny Broom is a senior. Those aren't guys that you really look to take with your first 2 picks. That's more so guys like you look to add some of those guys later in the first or into the second. So to me, I want to take young guys with our first 2 picks and then move on to, some guys who you can maybe plug in right away. Like Adu Thiaro out of Arkansas is one of my favorite prospects in the range of like 24 through 28. I absolutely love his game. I think he's like a better version of Dorian Finney-Smith. So,
all right. All right,
Bro,
thanks,
they
guys.
gotta be plug and
What's your
plays. They
question,
can't
Breeze?
be. I don't want a player develop somebody coming off the bench. We doing all of this for somebody coming off the bench is crazy work.
Well, think
They
about it. If
gotta
you're
be
going to keep
ready to
Cam
be
Johnson
in a
and Nick Claxton,
rotation
you're going to have
immediately.
to. Yeah, but think about it. If Marks is going to be an asshole and keep Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton, then you're stuck with these rookies coming off the bench because they're
But
not going to
that's what
bench one of those guys with them.
No, that's what I wanted to say to John. That what if Sean Marks pull that off? Now I want to say that. Pause. What if he's able to negotiate Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, and some draft picks to move up in this year's draft? Would you?
I think it's
he would be a genius. Breezy, I think
impossible.
it would be a genius move on part. I agree with Dylan wholeheartedly. We have 31 picks. Let's remember this. Let's say Brooklyn is like the power team coming to draft night. We have 31 picks to work with. We have so many ways to navigate this draft that other teams wish they could do on draft night.
John, remember I did this the other day, and being specific. So 2031 picks tradable, 2030 picks tradable, 2029 picks tradable, 2028 picks tradable, 2027 picks protect those. Don't touch those. I
am actually opposite. 2027's draft class isn't that good.
Right. So to the point is, we have a lot of ways.
What about those other picks? Would y'all negotiate that with Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton to move up in this year's draft and maybe next year's draft?
That's what I was going to say. You can't package both of them together. No team is going to be able to take on $49 million worth of contract.
Separately, maybe.
Cam Johnson half of those draft picks, and then Nick Claxton and half those draft picks.
Well, how many draft picks do you want, Breezy? If it's 4 to 5 picks, I don't got to do that. If 2 to 3, maybe, but it's 4 to 5. I'm not giving half of my draft capital for one guy, especially if we want bigger moves down the line. But I agree with this, though. We have so much ways to be flexible on draft night, but we have to take advantage of it.
Nick Claxton and one of our later first-round picks this year to move up to picks between like 12 through 16.
Yeah,
so you don't have to get rid of the future draft capital. More so, I think you more so move on from some of the future draft capital to add more draft capital in next year's draft. Because 2026 is another draft class that you want to have 2 or 3 picks in.
Right.
So,
you could fold a bit this season. You could say I'll trade some of my 25 picks to move into 2026 if you want to do that too. Like there's different ways to navigate this, but our problem is Sean Marks is not showing us on draft night he's flexible and creative like that. It would be genius. I think it would make more sense because if we don't get a top 3 pick this year, I think that if let's say on May 12th we get 6, 7, or 8, right? The mindset should be I'm going to trade one of Claxton or Johnson on draft night to move up in the draft to get a second lottery pick. Because you have to. You miss out on Cooper, Ace, or Harper. It's okay getting a Trey Johnson or a Colin Maliwak, but you need more. You need way more. So I feel like Sean Marks has a bold opportunity to make up for that if he fails.
I got one thing to say.
I like the trade that Dylan presented with Cam Johnson and the Bucks pick for the Spurs lottery pick. I think that works for both teams. I think that's a really good option.
Yes.
Well, so that's what I was going to say, right? The only 2 teams that I could see with trade options within the lottery currently is Cam Johnson and either the Rockets or the Knicks pick to the Spurs for their lottery pick, one of their lottery picks. And then Nick Claxton and one of those later first-round picks to move up with Atlanta. Those are the only 2 scenarios that I really see where Brooklyn can trade into the lottery using a player and a pick. I'm more so interested in seeing what they do. So, like, let's just say they do Nick Claxton, the Rockets pick at 25 or 24, whatever it's at currently, to move up to 13. They select Derek Queen, right? To me, I'm more interested in what they do with Cam Johnson after. Because if I'm the Nets, I'm packaging Cam Johnson and one of those 2027 picks to a team that has a 2026 and a 2028 pick. Because I think you want to add more draft capital in those 2 years.
Gotta get 2020 to get another first round in 2026 would be huge.
Yeah.
Like
realistically, Memphis, I would ideally love to get future picks from them because we don't know what Ja's future is going to hold for them in 2 years. If you can land their 2026 pick and their 2028, that 2028 could hold some value. Right. So I would be interested to see what they could do after they move up in the draft. But again, you're also dealing with Sean Marks, a guy who's been rumored to move up in every single draft over the past 5 years and has yet to do it.
And that's the problem. This is the draft where you have to do. If you miss out on top 3, the mindset if I'm GM is I got to get a second lottery pick at least. I got to justify trading all those valuable Suns picks and Mavs picks away, and I didn't even get a top 3 pick for it. Like, you would have to get a lottery pick. And if Sean doesn't do it, if he just stands pat this summer and just drafts who falls, I think that's a failure. I'm like, you could have got a player that you really wanted, like a Derek Queen maybe if he was around 10 or 12, if you would just trade it up.
Or Orlando, I don't think you heard my proposal properly. I would either give up Nick Claxton and a later first round pick this year to the Hawks for their lottery pick, or I would give up Cam Johnson and one of our later firsts to the Spurs for one of their lottery picks. Now let's just say you do the Claxton to the Hawks one, right? So you're giving up picks 24 and Claxton for 13 currently, right? I would then move Cam Johnson and a singular 2027 pick to a team like Memphis for salary fillers, their 2026 first and their 2027 first. So
No,
that's what I was saying.
that makes sense.
You get 2 first-round picks from a team for Cam Johnson by giving away one of your 2027 picks. You can even throw a protection on that 2027 pick.
Yeah, like this is real flexibility. Forget the cap space this summer because this summer's free agency is garbage. You have flexibility on draft night to do this any way you want to, and if he just stands pat and drafts whoever falls where they fall, I think it's a failure. That's why I wish we had a GM that knows how to be flexible, knows how to get the right picks. Because we have 31 picks. If we don't move anybody in draft night, I think it's a huge missed opportunity. Like Dylan has all these combinations that actually work in our benefit, and we get rid of Johnson and Claxton to do it. Like there's ways to fix up what he screwed up at this year's trade deadline. He just has to use this. That's all he's got to do. It's not that hard.
Yeah. Jay,
my biggest concern is that he likes Cam Johnson, so he's not going to trade him. Like, that's my biggest concern.
This guy's more boring than rice pudding, man. He seriously, there's nothing exciting about Cam Johnson. Somebody tell me something exciting about this guy, and I'll give you $1. Thank you, Dylan.
Jay,
you don't get $1, but I'll give you a golden coin.
Jay, real quickly, I agree with the value of Queen simply because he's 20 years old as a freshman. I definitely don't see him going in the top 8, even though he is top 8 talent. But Malawach is a completely different story. If you look at the teams that could range between 4 through 7, like say Charlotte doesn't land a top 3 pick and they land pick 5 or 6, they're 100% a team that would go for Malawach because they're going to look to replace Mark Williams. Same thing with Toronto. If they don't land a top 3 pick, they're 100% going to look at Malawach because they already have RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, and Scotty Barnes. They don't need a 2, 3, or 4. They either need a point guard or they need a center. So I think there's definitely going to be value where you're going to see Malawach go a lot higher than people may expect. Because like somebody said earlier, some mock drafts have Malawach going in the late teens, which is absurd because there's no world where he falls that far. Like the furthest he falls maybe is pick 9. But Malawach is a guy that if a team doesn't land a top 3 pick and their biggest need is a center, he fits the mold of best available, highest upside, and best fit. So a team like Charlotte or Toronto, between the ranges of 5 through 7, I definitely think they go with a guy like Malawach. Even a team like New Orleans, if they don't land a top 3 pick, I could see them going Malawach because they have no center on their roster besides Yves Missy, who they drafted last year, and he's horrible. So I definitely think Malawach goes a lot higher than you may think.
All right, guys, I gotta wrap this up. I gotta be out of here in like a minute. The Nets play. They're off today. They play Friday next, correct? Against Portland.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, and then they play Saturday. It's a doubleheader so it's a back-to-back this weekend.
Well, is it an afternoon game on Saturday?
Wherever you need to go.
No, it's a 7:00 game on Saturday night. Yeah.
I think that what makes sense to me, bro, like is Derek Queen and Yegor because we need more IQ than athletes right now, anyway. So that's what makes more sense.
We need to get bigger as a team.
Yeah, but Derek Queen is a like I'm going off of what Dylan said. Like if it's take wings and bigs, bro, then that's a good start for me. If it's taking wings and bigs, bro, if that's their true formula of trying to at least compete for something, then I would like to go in that manner. Like if you go look at Paulo and Franz, those are 2 wings, those are the 3 and the 5. And if you go look at other teams, they probably drafting somewhat of the same thing. I don't really see Detroit doing anything with Kay Cunningham, even though he's a big guard, but you could. I see what Dylan was talking about in terms of the wings and the bigs winning it all, and so I like that formula a little bit better because I feel like as a big guard, Yegor could have an advantage, in a lot of areas, bro. Like, but I think the scoring might be limited, to a T, but I still think he can have an advantage as a top tier playmaker. And you can't buy top tier playmaking like that.
Yeah, I know Gary's got to head out, so that's. I was just gonna piggyback on what you said, Leaf. I think this year, if you miss out on Ace or Ace or Flag, you don't select a wing until your last 2 first-round picks, because realistically, there's better point guards and centers of value within.
Are we still going after AJ and Cam?
That's my idea. To me, if you can land advanced, I'm more a Darren Peterson fan than I am a Cam Boozer fan. I think Peterson has some of the most upside I've ever seen in my life. That kid is fucking incredible. There's no other word around it. Don't sleep on Noah Ament. He's making his college decision here shortly. Don't sleep on Caleb Wilson. I think he committed to UNC. But there's a lot of wings next year. Like you have DeBansta, you have Peterson, you have Ament, you have Boozer, you have Caleb Wilson. I'm missing out on one more name.
Nate Amont, big man.
Yeah, I said him already. But there's like 5 or 6 wings in the top 8 of next year's draft, which is why I think it's ideal Brooklyn lands top 5 next year.
I don't even. Me personally, I don't think we're going to be that bad. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see.
I think we're going to be much worse simply because we're going to be younger, and younger teams don't succeed. If their true idea is to focus on player development, then next season should be more of losses because you're going to be spending your cap
if we end up with Diego and Derek Queen, bro, I don't think we're going to be nowhere near that bad. I think we're going to be like a 30-something win team.
We still have to commit to a direction this summer. We still even commit to a direction
because I'm seeing what Jordy is able to do with.
You take Cam Johnson off the team. Hopefully Claxton too. I mean, at a certain point, it's like, well, how are we going to close out these games and actually win these games?
Exactly, Gary. That's how you fix it. But can Sean Marks fix his mistakes? We'll find out this summer.
Sean Marks ain't fixing a damn thing, bro. Like he's just gonna let the dice roll like it's rolling, bro. John, get over it.
Wait, tell me to get over Leaf. Me and Dylan have put more solutions to fix this damn team in lesser time than Sean Marks has been GM in 8 years. So don't say that we're the ones that have to get over it. He has to get over his phobia of not drafting big men.
No, he's incompetent to fix it, bro. I'm saying get over the ideas that you have. The ideas that you have, bro, like for him to fix it, he's not.
Flourish.
But he's not following these ideas. That's how it makes him incompetent. You can't lean on him to follow the ideas that you brought up, which is good ideas. But it's not going to be that way because he's Sean Marks.
But how did it get on there?
Damn it!
All right, guys, I gotta wrap this. I agree with Leaf. Like he could fix it, but he's not competent. He's not. He could, but he's not gonna because he sucks at his job. I agree with Leaf.
He 100% sucks at his job.
Breezy.
We judge and we don't. We listen. We don't judge. We listen. We don't judge.
Oh, I judge.
You're gonna help. Sean
I judge all the time.
We're gonna help Sean Marks, man.
Sean Marks, if you can hear me, you suck at your job.
Gary,
close
John 7-4 says to judge all things righteously. I've judged Sean Marks righteously. He sucks. All right.
Damn.
We're back Saturday, guys. Saturday afternoon works for y'all?
Yeah, Saturday 12:30 works.
Saturday I'll be picking up my girlfriend from the airport, so I may be out for a little bit.
All right, what time? You know what time you're picking up the little lady?
Her flight lands in Charlotte at 1. It's an hour-and-a-half drive, so I'll be out between.
You could come back Sunday, Dylan.
Potentially, I don't know.
Sunday anyway, so if you can't do Saturday, we can do Sunday.
Yeah, we'll figure out a time. I may be spending. She's only here for a week, so I may just spend time with her and come back once she gets dropped off the following.
Yes,
Saturday.
if that's what
Dylan's going to be busy next week, right?
I'm gonna be a little busy. You know? It should happen.
All right, John, we'll go live Saturday at noon, and
and then Sunday we could do maybe 2 or 3, depending on how your schedule works out there. So we could do that if you want to.
Well, yeah, Dylan, if you're available Sunday, we'll figure out Sunday on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, Saturday I'm good for 12:30 though, if you want.
12:30.
All right,
we'll do 12:30. All right, appreciate you, John. Breezy, give us one last shout out on your podcast. I don't know where they can find you.
Y'all can reach me at Big Fan Breezy, same handle on YouTube and Twitter, or maybe a special guest here, or I'm in a chat on this show. So subscribe. We try and get to 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe to the page.
All right, appreciate you, Breezy. It's
I was gonna say, Gary, you mind if I plug something in here real quick?
Oh no, please.
I brought the page back. It's not like a full-time thing, but I wanted to give my best draft analysis. So feel free to follow me on YouTube, subscribe, whatever it's called. It's called Nets Press Podcast. I'm actually going to bring it to you, Gary, to see if we can attach it to your StreamYard because I would love to do some mock drafts every 2 weeks. So if you guys want your most informal mock draft analyst, feel free to subscribe to me over there. We'll be doing bi-weekly mock drafts up until draft lottery night, and then we'll be giving some analysis there. So feel free to subscribe to us over there.
All right. Sounds good, y'all. Appreciate y'all. That sounds good, Dylan. We'll talk about that. That sounds good. February 27th, 2025, from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Peace.
Later.
Later.